This is just another area for you to look at it. Moreton Bay Regional Council's area. Have a look at this garbage. It's killed all the trees here, and what's not killed is busy dying. Look at it, just absolutely everywhere, as far as you can see, and the rest of the vines that it protects as you go through are just thicker and thicker and thicker as you're going along. And then they've got vines all through, you know, like all the other weed species that it's protecting as it goes through is incredible. On top of what you can just see in that stuff, and the animals can't get access through it. It's just crazy. That yellow one up there, the yellow flower, is another weed within those weeds. And it just goes on and on and on. The bushland is just being choked. And look at the vine and lantanas through all of this, and they do nothing about it at all. There is no policy in place for any of this stuff here at all. And this is hundreds and hundreds of kilometres of it just locally, and it just goes on forever. And because of it, you know, people can come in and dump stuff everywhere as they please, using it for cover. This tobacco bush plant here, this one here, is another noxious weed growing all over the place. Just endless. You just film forever down through all of the watercourses and creeks. Because the council say, and the state government say, that they can't clean this up. Look at it. Just endless. Absolutely endless, because they don't have the technology or the ability to be able to murder this plant like we can. You know, you got 20, 40 foot, 60, 80, 100 foot tall vines. Look at the vines. That one over there with all the purple and blue flowers, the one that it's growing over, so it's growing over another noxious weed that has thorns on it that grow to be about 1 inch long to 1.5 inches long. That twisted viney looking material that comes out from over that area, that's another terrible, terrible plant that's out of control. That's enormous. That thing must be 60, 80 feet tall, because that's down in a gully that's another 30 feet below us, and that's what we have here. This is Moreton Bay Regional Council at its best, and this is only just a tiny little snippet. The trouble is, you can't drive. If you drive, you just got to keep getting out every 50 metres up the road to take a new set of film of areas that are just like this. How does the wildlife get through that crap? This is the type of ecology that Moreton Bay Regional Council is responsible for over most of its lands. And yet if this stuff grows on your property, you'll get prosecuted. Brisbane City Council and Moreton Bay Regional Council are not the only ones, but look at it over there, that we call it cockspur. Because of the way that it's an old farmer's term. It's an old farmer's term that they call it cockspur, that the thorns are actually like an inch, 1.5 inches long, and they're like the spur on the back of a rooster's leg. So they call it cockspur. I don't know what the botanical name for it is, but it doesn't really matter what the botanical name for it is. Yeah, this infestation is pumping out 12,000 seeds per plant every single time it rains on them. And they do nothing at all about it. Nothing. There's 000, what's the name on it? You look at this vine material in amongst this lantana. It's completely choked every single thing out of it. Absolutely, and it just goes and goes and goes all the way down the road, up the other side of the road, all through that other watercourse on the other side of the road, all the way up through that watercourse, all the way up the other side of the road there, and just continues. This has been 15, 20 k's that we've been driving now, and it's just not practical to hop out. That's where the ute is. That's continuous from there to here and continuous up the rest of the road. And you look at that and you go, that's what we're fighting against in Moreton Bay Regional area. While they collect enormous rates and they harass everybody else about their property, and yet that's what this small section, this is hundreds and hundreds of kilometres of it, over the whole entire shire. It must be thousands of kilometres of just massive quantities of lantana, all living in the places it can't be allowed to propagate, pumping seeds further and further down the system, and they are doing nothing. It's zero removal. They are not spending any money on it as far as they're concerned. Where you can get an answer from them, with Moreton Bay Regional, you can't actually get them to respond to you. You look up there following that power line. That's a complete blanket of lantana all the way up along there and back that way. You can't even see over there as it goes. And these people are responsible for the lands that they occupy, like Energex, Sequeb, all of them, Powerlink. And yet you look at that, there's nothing at all in those areas that you can get access to those areas. Not for us, I mean that they are cleared and stop the spread of the disease. You know, that's heartbreaking to look at that and to know how far that extends, and there is zero management of those things. We rip that stuff out of the ground, we kill it, we destroy it, it's finished, it's done, it's over with. There's a minor mop-up over the next 2-year program. Often it's zero, and at worst it's a tiny mop-up thing over the next 12 months. Usually at 6 months and then at the 12-month mark, and it's done. But then if they leave this sort of infestation further up the watercourse, it's never done. They leave it growing in places that it cannot be allowed to grow. Absolutely criminal. It's criminal what the state government and the local governments are doing to our ecology. Absolutely criminal. And then they start these laws, these garbage laws about land clearing and clearing, where these policies are, in the next couple of years, are going to absolutely devastate the whole of the country in the cost. But then they will turn around and say, oh, but you know what, we can't afford to spend anything on it now because it's that far out of control. Not as it is now today. In 2 years' time, with the growth rates of lantana, what is going to happen for our children is absolutely criminal, and it should never have been tolerated, and they did it deceitfully. They did not make it known that they changed the policy, that there is zero management of this. This stuff grows like you would not believe. Its growth rate is insane. And they made a decision themselves, secretly, to give up on it. They never conversed with any of the public. They never told anybody what they were doing. Well, what they were not doing. And there are far worse weeds than this one that are protected by this weed. It's insane. That's why we're asking people to come forward and to help us out to publicise these things, because we actually need these things to be dealt with. We need to have some very, very real changes made to the state government, the federal government, Need to start sacking some of these clowns. This is criminal that they did all this. It's absolutely criminal. You look at it through here. This is all of their lands. You got services run through it. You look at it all through there. Every tree is dead and dying that it's climbing and it's choking off. Every water course, pumping that stuff into that. And they come around, they spray these edges and they kill this stuff off here. Look at it. This stuff thrives on water. And they allowed it. Look at the size of those trunks going up into this tree, killing this tree. Killing all of this ecology. It just goes on and on and on forever, being fed by that watercourse. You know, I try to keep my films short, but the trouble is the subject is so long and so out of control, and these poor people with their properties bordering all this stuff have this stuff never ending attacking and coming into their properties. It's a never ending battle for these people to try and keep this rubbish out of their lands. Look at the size of the trunks on that. That's insane how many years that sucker's been growing in there. Being force-fed the most beautiful water that's known to this material. That's what it loves. It loves this water. And there is zero management of this pest now. And if you said so, okay, it grows at a rate of 1 million hectares every year, and there is zero management, zero. Brisbane City Council have admitted it. Moreton Bay Regional Council won't talk about it, but there is zero management of this pest because they say they can't get rid of it. And yet we go into places every single day and we remove it permanently. It's a load of rubbish. Look at the vine being protected by it, choking all these trees out. And they want to make out, look at it, it's 80 feet to 100 feet up in the air up there, choking those trees to death. Soon those trees will be dead and that bank will be collapsing because the trees are all dead. And the bank can't support the weight of the dead trees. The services are drowned in all of this material here. It's just insane. And I can see it all the way up past that car. That's 500 meters plus, just continuing in exactly the same way that it came all the way along here. And really there's no point, is there, in my just keeping on walking up there, because subject matter just doesn't change. Look at it. That's 40 to 60 feet in the air, that stuff there in that tree, choking that tree to death. How does a koala get to those gum trees when it's completely drowned out? Look at that. That'd be 100 to 150 feet up in that tree, all the way to the top. And they do nothing about that ecology. Well, here comes Jolie. Jolie's gotten fed up with waiting. So we're going to have to walk up here, obviously. But anyway, you know, you look at that and tell me that's not criminal. It's criminal. It's what they're doing to our children and our children's future. All of the animals, the fauna, the flora. It's just, they should be jailed. They should be known for exactly what they are, and that's criminals. That's a gum tree that would have koalas eating out of it. How does a koala get up that gum tree? How do they get past any of this garbage here? And the Palaszczuk government wants to tell us that the ecology is affected by land clearing. Look at it through there. That there, at a minimum, is 40 feet deep. What's over there? That's how fast this bank falls away. There's another noxious weed. Climbing all the trees, killing all the trees. Look at it, how high that is from above this area. And nothing is done for the ecology of the animals. Unbelievable. Seriously, I know it sounds funny to keep saying that it's a criminal act. Lantana, the whole lot is in those infestations, up to the property lines of the poor people that have those properties there. And that's that, what's the name, ice cream thing that's out of control as well. Just terrible. Terrible that they can do this to our country and they're not accountable for it at all. Nobody takes them to task. You know, the only place that there's a difference is where people have come outside of their properties and they've created a buffer zone at their cost, at their expense, to keep this garbage away from their lands. That's just wrong. With the rates you pay, you should not have to put up with that stuff. Unbelievable. I don't know what this is going to look like with how fast we're driving along and
well, it's 100 k's
and what it looks like.
I slowed down for about 5 minutes there for you.
I don't know what it's going to look like, whether it's going to be too blurry as we go past it, but the sheer scale of the problem means that you can't travel slower as you go along, but kilometre after kilometre for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of kilometres. And if you want to look at it on a state-wide, it's tens of thousands of kilometres. From New South Wales all the way to the tip of the country, tip of Queensland. It's just a continuous sea of lantana. That poor farmer's got it all through his border there. More of this ice cream plant. These are all noxious weeds just continuously growing free range, rampant, while the council drives past it every single day and ignores it and says we're not going to spend any money at all on cleaning it up. Every watercourse is choked to death with it, being fed top quality moisture. All of it there, just completely white out. You know, some of it gets boring to keep showing you and showing you and showing you, but the point is that unless you film it and start to put pressure on these guys, there's no possibility that you can actually get this information to them. You're gonna have to stop. Okay, off you go.
Bloody joke.
Yeah, so, you know, how far does it go before the action is actually taken? That the lies that the state government tell you about the land clearing and stuff like that and developers and everything else, it's just misleading to take people's attention off the actual issue of exactly how bad our country is with all these weeds. Look at that on that side of the road. Even the signs that are supposed to protect you are completely covered. Completely. There's another place back further where it's an actual public reserve, and everything in the reserve is completely covered, and the sign of the reserve is barely visible outside of the weed infestation. And it just goes on and on and on for kilometres after kilometres. Every single watercourse. That's where it loves to live. That's why it's so strong on these edges where it's steep drop-offs. It's getting pumped huge amounts of water into it and it's flowering and seeding continuously. All the properties up there are infected. All through here, all that property, the whole lot, up to the power line there is completely infected. And zero being done about it. The whole lot. People should be in jail that have allowed this to happen and have changed the laws and policies on these things. They should be in jail. Look at it down that watercourse and the power line. Jeez. All through this section here. Now we start to come more into the city. Look at it on that side of that embankment.